It's the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast with your hosts, the Wolf and Action Jackson, who are keeping rock alive by talking classic rock, hard rock, progressive rock, heavy metal, 80s music, early MTV, UK vs. US chart success, and much more. This is the home of classic album and live concert reviews and your place for interviews with artists and legends. You're rocking with the Wolf. Out there, rock and rollers. Welcome to episode number 201 of the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast. Brought to you by me, your host, Mac B. the Wolf, and I will be joined, as I always am, by my partner in crime from the East Coast of the United States of America, Mr. Gary Action Jackson. And we appreciate everybody who's tuned in here recently. In the last week, we've had two of our best shows ever. That's right. For the 200th episode, we had the legendary guitarist, member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Steve Howe on, talking about his new album, Guitarscape, which is out, talking about Days in Yes and Days in Asia and Days to Come. It was a great conversation. We're so proud to have Steve on. We've never had three members of Yes on and three original members of Asia on. And then the great news is, for our monthly sidecast First Concert Memories 15, we had legendary rock writer Mick Wall on, and he was talking about the night he got to hang out backstage with David Lee Roth in 1988 while he was interviewing him for the 200th edition of Kerrang! Back in the day. And I think it was the most fun chat we've had on the show. So if you haven't already, please go back and check those two out. This week, as we move forward, we've got another member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to talk about, another guitar player, though we're not doing an interview, no. We're talking about someone whose posters we had on the wall in college together, went to see him live, went to see his old band live, and that's Ace Frehley. Yes, that's right, the Kiss founding guitar player had gone solo in the early 80s, and his album, Trouble Walkin', was something we had picked up on because, well, we loved Ace, we were getting into old school Kiss, and it was usually in the discount bin at the CD store. So it was something that we really listened to a lot, and we had a good time, we had fond memories of it. Now looking back, is it one of our favorite albums of all time? Great riffs, not such great vocals from old Ace, and yeah, the lyrics are a little sophomoric or just plain bad. But look, we love Kiss, and we love Ace, and you gotta take them warts and all. And it's more that we love the character of Ace than we do the extraordinary songwriter that Ace is. And he's a cool guitar player, though he only has so many tricks up his sleeve. But we had a great time listening to this, and we had a good time reviewing it again for you, and so we thought it's turning 35 this year, we would walk you through it. Now, before we get to that, we have a little bit of business to take care of. As always, we like to mention we are proud members of the Pantheon Podcast Network, a family of over 100 different shows. You can learn more at pantheonpodcast.com or check them out on socials at PantheonPods. And if you haven't already, you have to visit our sponsor, rarevinyl.com, because the holidays are coming up here, folks. We're already in October, and you know, either you've got to get that special thing for somebody, or you need to get something for yourself because your family just doesn't understand your record collecting addiction. So go to rarevinyl.com, buy as many things as you like. They've got a lot of first edition stuff, rare import stuff, picture disc, deleted singles, and yes, they have a lot of Kiss and some Ace Frehley stuff. And so buy as much as you want, and you can use the code UGLY to save 10% off your entire order. Not just one item, but your entire order. So get that special somebody something, or get yourself something. You know you deserve it. Use code UGLY at checkout, save 10% at rarevinyl.com. Your record collection will thank you. Now back to Ace Frehley. We know that Ace is not the world's greatest songwriter or the best singer. We know his lyrics are going to be fairly simple and sometimes silly, but we still like what he does. And given the time this came out, the riffs were fantastic. He sounded like all the other hair metal bands on MTV at the time. But his singing has never been special, and well, if you listen in, you'll hear a little bit of it why. But it's a fun listen. A trip down memory lane for me and Jackson as we're talking Ace Frehley's Trouble Walkin' at 35. Here on The Wolf. So, we convinced ourselves that we needed to review something that we listened to a lot when we lived together in college. because we were such big Kiss fans that we had to listen to Ace Frehley's Trouble Walkin', released in 1989. And part of it is because we had become such big Kiss fans, right? I mean, freshman year, I got Alive 2, and we listened to that back and forth. And then sophomore year, we saw Kiss, we saw the Revenge Tour. I'd gotten double platinum over the summer, so we listened to all those songs too. I'm pretty sure I'd gotten the Ace Frehley solo album on CD, got it used at Park Avenue Records. And then I also got Ace Frehley's Trouble Walkin' because every time I went to Park Avenue Records, there were 2 or 3 copies of Trouble Walkin' in the used bin. And because we were on this big Kiss kick, I'm like, well, we might as well check this out, right?
It was one of the life's simple pleasures. You kind of had maybe a crappy day at school, and you think, you know what, I just need to veg for a little while. So you walk down to Park Avenue CD, went through the used bin, and you think to yourself, some of these things, why did anybody buy this to begin with? But then why did anybody throw this out?
Yes.
Because that's what it was. Somebody had bought it and returned it. And so, yeah, maybe you wouldn't have bought it new, but in the used bin, absolutely. Who would throw this out? We have to have a copy of it now that it's discounted.
Well, yeah, exactly. $15 on a college budget. It's really starting to creep in. It better be a good album. That's why I usually use my 3-song rule, that if they had 3 good singles off of it, okay, fine. It's probably CD worthy now. But I've still got the smudge of dried up sticker residue on the back of this jewel box from 30 plus years ago. But yeah, it's one of those that, I mean, sometimes something comes in ooh, I can't believe someone traded this in. You got to grab it because it won't be there if you came back that afternoon. But Trouble Walkin', there was always 2 or 3 of them there, always, enough people bought this and I don't think this was a good idea. But so this is the story of Ace here in the late 80s on Megaforce Records. Of course, Eddie Trunk will gladly tell you, anytime he's doing anything that has to do with Kiss or Ace, that he signed Ace to Megaforce. And he had to convince the people that he would be a good signing because Ace hadn't done much post-Kiss, right? I mean, he was there for Creatures in 82, but not really. He didn't contribute a ton to the record. He had become disillusioned after Music from the Elder. They didn't really tour Creatures, at least not with Ace. And then he kind of split for a while. And of course, he wrecked his DeLorean, and his drinking and partying was pretty out of control. And allegedly, he was on the Kiss payroll through 84, 85.
Okay.
Which is kind of strange, but if you think about it, Paul knew Vinnie Vincent was trouble, right? He was a talented writer. He could play really well, but it's is he really the new member of Kiss? Can we really count on him and take him on the road? And I mean, I guess the answer eventually was you couldn't count on him. So they're continuing to pay Ace through 84, I think until Bruce was solidified in the band, right? Because Vinnie's helping them write. Okay, now he's on the tour. Now he's in the band. Now he's out. Then Mark St. John comes in for a cup of coffee. Then he's out.
He didn't even make it to the tour.
Right. I mean, and then Bob Kulick's little brother, Bruce, comes in okay, we can trust. He's not a wackadoo. He's not an alcoholic. He's a pro. All right, Ace, bye-bye. So Ace was probably living pretty. I mean, I think he had money from the Kiss days. He's getting some kind of money from those couple years. And eventually it's well, Ace, aren't you going to do something? Aren't you going to do anything? And I think he toured a little bit with his band Frehley's Comet, and they tried out some songs, but not all of those made it to Frehley's Comet, his first solo album in 1987, which he followed up with Second Sighting pretty quickly. I mean, it was the next year. Frehley's Comet came in April 87. Second Sighting is May of 88, and Trouble Walkin' comes out October 89. This would represent the most prolific quote-unquote period for Ace for about 30 years. 3 albums in 3 years. Because after this, he didn't make another solo album until after he left Kiss. Anomaly was his first solo album in 20 years in 2009. So Ace was working here and touring, still partying pretty hard, but at least he was making new music and getting out there and touring and trying to become something post Kiss.
Yeah, and really kind of making a name for himself too, because it wasn't just like a novelty act. Like he was writing the songs, he was touring, like you said, he was out there trying to do it. I think Eddie Trunk, like you said, he takes credit for basically getting Ace off the couch and getting him back into the music world. But yeah, once he got going, he was cranking it out, and then they did the Kiss reunion tour, so he was back doing that for a while. So I can see why it fell off. But yeah, this is kind of I think he kind of cleaned himself up a little bit too. I'm not saying that he was totally off everything, but had made some life decisions that maybe I think that what year was the DeLorean wreck? Do you remember that?
That's a fair question. It was like 83 or 80 something.
Because I think that was, once that happened, it was like, okay, I shouldn't be alive right now because that was horrendous.
Right.
I mean, what was the quote? Hey, Ace, were you loaded when you crashed the car? It was beyond loaded.
It was beyond loaded. Yeah. Or sometimes he would come home, or he'd wake up at home the next day. He's like, how the hell did I get here? And I walk out and my car's out there. I'm like, oh, I drove. Like, that's bad, Ace. That's not good, you know. But you say he's writing the songs, and yeah, he's co-writer on a lot of these songs, most of the songs, I guess I'd say. But there's like 12 different writers or something like that on this album. I mean, the last album, it was mostly him and guys from the band. But this time, you know, he's doing covers. He's bringing in all sorts of different writers or getting songs from different people, including the guys in his band like Richie Scarlet and John Regan. But I don't know. It seems like he was just throwing stuff at the wall to see what would stick.
Well, it's also interesting too that this is not a Frehley's Comet record. This is now just Ace.
Just Ace Frehley. That's right.
Yeah. Even though it's a couple of things that I saw, it does credit it as Frehley's Comet, but that's not the case. There's no band here. It's just him and some other guys. I don't know why the change was, but yeah, you're right. I was going back and looking. I don't see covers on the other records, the other two. So yeah, this is kind of a change in his attitude. And I think now all of the stuff that he puts out is pretty much covers, correct?
Well, he's definitely put out some cover albums, a couple of them, you know, like Volume 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely needs help with songs, you know, but yeah, he did the Origins Volume 1 and 2 to kind of show you, hey, I grew up with these songs. This is kind of what made me want to be a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's kind of paying tribute to them. There is going to apparently be an Origins Volume 3 in 2025. I don't know after Volume 1 if you really needed Volume 2. Yes, I bought it just because I try to support Ace. I mean, somebody has to. He doesn't always do it that well, and so I'm trying to help him out. Steve Brown helped Ace kind of write this, and I think for the most part they wrote it together. But on this album, I mean, yes, there's a cover by Jeff Lynne, you know, from ELO, who is Jeff Lynne's band, basically. Yeah, Richie Scarlet, who's in his band, although he does rhythm, but he does some lead vocals and backing vocals. Yeah, Mark Ferrari, who, you know, he was in Keel. He was in a couple of different bands we might know. He was in Wayne's World, right? He was the guitarist of Crucial Taunt with Cassandra.
Yeah, I saw that note. I'm like, I don't know if I remember him, but I remember her.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. And I remember his face thinking, that guy a real guitar player? He did basically a Kiss cover, which is a little strange to me. And it wasn't like an old tune Kiss cover. It was like a contemporary Kiss song, right? And Hot in the Shade came out 4 days after Trouble Walkin' did. And Hide Your Heart was on Hot in the Shade, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah. I always thought that was very strange why that came out at the same time. But we'll get to that in a minute.
I know. And then there's others. We can talk about it here. So Ace needed to resurrect his career. He starts with it, Megaforce. He had a band and included the legendary Anton Fig on the drums, probably known best to the public as the drummer from David Letterman show. But he played drums and toured with Ace quite a bit. He wasn't on the second album. I think he was busy. And that was that Jamie Oldaker who came in to play it on that one? But Anton is back. And Anton does a really good job on this. I think that if you removed Ace's voice from the album, the band, a lot of the riffs are pretty good. I mean, Anton does a great job here. Richie and John create some cool riffs and effects and stuff like that. And it's just the lyrics, of course, are very Ace. They're not incredible. And then it's his singing. Although, I had the Wolf Cub listening to this last night. She's like, who is this, Daddy? I'm like, well, this is Ace. Like, well, he doesn't sound that bad here. I'm like, well, that's because you've been listening to 10,000 Volts when he's like way over the hill and can't really sing at all. At least he could still sing a little bit back then. And his voice is not bad on this record.
It's not bad. The problem is that, to me, most of the lyrics are pretty terrible. They're very simplistic.
Yeah.
And he's good for maybe like one or two on the record.
Yeah.
All of them, well, I guess he sings them all except one. After a while, you're, okay, we need to move on. I was looking on the Second Sighting album. I think that he goes back and forth. Todd, who is this?
Haworth, yeah.
Yeah, so he's got one, Haworth's got 2, 3, 4 of the 9 songs on here that he sings lead on. And so that, to me, that's probably the better way to do it, only because Ace he can only kind of sing one way, and that's it.
Yeah. That's right. No, that's a good observation. He can sing like Ace, and sometimes it fits the song well,
right?
And sometimes not so much. I think that sometimes on these songs they overlayer him on some riffs and stuff like that, and so they hide it just a little bit. And I think that that's a good thing to do, to be honest with you. And although he and Regan both get producers credits on here, he had Eddie Kramer, who did produce his original solo album with Kiss in 1978. He had him come in and produce this, So he's trying to get back to creating that magic. Plus he brings in, some fun guest stars, if you will. Got Peter Criss singing backing vocals on 4 different songs. He's also got Sebastian Bach, Dave the Snake Sabo, and Rachel Bolan from Skid Row coming in to do some backing stuff. Not to mention Pepe Castro. And so he's gathering some people around him to kind of give him some help to make this more fun. The cover is interesting. Like you say, it's Ace Frehley. It's not Frehley's Comet. Maybe because Todd Haworth isn't in the band anymore, and that was the voice and the sound you would expect from Frehley's Comet. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they decided, hey, we just need to brand him as Ace Frehley. But it's him on the front, black and white. His hair kind of poofed in the style of the day. He's got the big Ace ring on, and he's holding, some marionette strings there. And down low, there's 3 black and white photos of Ace, kind of blurry in action photos, until the third one, he's kind of holding up his guitar. Trouble Walkin'. I remember we had so much fun with this.
Well, I remember too thinking, are you having trouble walking? Is that the deal because you're messed up?
Well, that was the thing. You used to correct me because you're like, no, dude, it's I am trouble walking. I'm like, I think it's I have trouble walking because Ace can't walk so good, especially after a bunch of drinks.
Well, and the thing is, he could never walk that good because even they were saying, like, when he came in for his first audition, it was like we thought this guy was going to fall over. What is he doing? He's staggering all around.
Putting him in platform shoes on stage was such a bad idea. I mean, he can barely walk and talk at the same time, it would seem. So putting him real high on that wasn't a great idea. And you mentioned the lyrics. It's funny because you and I both, along with over 100 other people, contributed to the Shout It Out Loud cast Raise Your Glasses book, which is stories and a celebration of 50 years of Kiss, kind of going track by track and telling people stories of why they like them and everything. And in reading mine, because I got a lot in on the Ace solo album,
okay,
I'm a happy member of the Ace cult. We love Ace, but it's not like I love him because he can do no wrong. I love him because he's a cool guitar player and he's a character. He's an idiot, but I like him for it, And if you read all of what I wrote, you'd think I hated Ace Frehley in the book. And, those guys pride themselves on, like, look, we don't just slurp Kiss. We call them out on stuff. We love them and everything, but we call them out on their bad stuff. And I'm reading through, and everyone's like, oh, this is one of Ace's best songs. Oh, so glad this made it too loud. I'm like, this is dumb. They used me as like the bad guy every single time on that. So look, I am an Ace Frehley fan. It's just I have an honest opinion of Ace. It's not clouded by this love affair I have with Ace.
And I mean, honestly, like it would be kind of easy to dismiss this record as kind of like he's just fooling around. This isn't a serious thing. But there are some good parts to it and interesting choices that he made. And I think that it's not all bad. There are good parts of this thing, and I do enjoy going back and listening to it. And I'm going to be honest, part of it is just remembering when we used to listen to it a million years ago also.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I mean, these 10 songs collected in this album, it's a little disjointed in some spots, but because we listened to it in college together, sober and less than sober, and we even introduced our friends to it. Like, I remember Sweet Marcia saying, "What's that album?" Well, that's Ace Frehley, Trouble Walkin. Oh, I think I'll get that. I'm like, you will? Because I don't know if you should. Why don't you just come down here and listen with me, I think she's just being nice. But anyway.
Hey, this is Tom and Zeus from Shout It Out Loudcast.
And you are listening to the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast.
Maybe let's jump into this a little bit, because there is, like you say, there's some good stuff on this. There's some moments on here too. And we'll get to them all. There are 10 tracks, and then there's 11 or 12 writers. So the first one, Shot Full of Rock, written by Ace and Richie Scarlet. Now, this is actually a pretty darn good way to start off a rock record, Heavy and fast, right?
Yeah. And it kind of fades in at the beginning, like it kind of ramps up, which
right.
is cool. And it's what you want. You want hard and fast out of the gate to kind of set the tone for the record.
But, and there's always a but with an Ace song, it's a bunch of things that rhyme but aren't really great lyrics, is my note here, which I think is the truth. I mean, the lyrics are never really hugely insightful. They're just kind of, you have to have a vocal, you have to have lyrics in the song, so...
Right, and it helps when the words rhyme, so they kind of go together. Well, they don't go together, but they help move the song along.
Wake up, Jack, get ready. Here we come to rock this town. Hold on tight and steady. Over, under, sideways, down. So I guess he's a Yardbirds fan. It would make sense as a guitar player that you would like the Yardbirds with three of the greatest guitarists of all time. You must feel the power. Fix your eyes upon the stage. Watch us now devour everything that gets in our way. That's actually some of the better lyrics on it. To be honest with you, taste the hard rock candy guaranteed to melt in your mouth. Jump back now, Jim Dandy. East, west, north, and south. What? At least your fascination with my creation adds stimulation. Rock till you drop. He's talking about his songs. Hard Rock Nation, Lost Generation, End the Frustration. Get shot full of rock. Yeah. I don't know about that. Now, here's the question for you. Are he and Richie trading licks during the solo?
That's what I have on there. Okay. Double solo and then dash trade off. That's what it sounds like to me, is they're going back and forth, which I love. That sounds
which
really
is cool, right?
Especially if you see them play it live. When they go back and forth, it almost sounds to me like you had the riff, you had pretty much this all put together, and like, well, we need some words here. Okay, well, when are we going to record this? In about 4 minutes. Okay,
2 more minutes than I need.
Yeah, exactly. Let me get this put together. And again, Ace's voice is it's not the best. It's probably the best of what you're going to get at this point in time. Like this, it's not going to get any better than this, but it's still kind of a stretch on this one.
Well, and then I'm thinking maybe this is more Richie than it is Ace as far as writing this tune goes, because we are going to trade licks like that. And I agree. I think that's cool. It'd be cool if they did that a little bit more, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But they've kind of buried Ace in some places here as far as the voice goes. Overall, I think it's a cool way to start the album. And I think something we miss sometimes on our show here, Jackson, is that we forget to put ourselves in 1989. We're kind of reviewing it now.
Okay.
And we're like, okay, now if you look at it now, this is quaint, or, I can't believe they're still using this kind of stuff on here. But listen to it in 89 when hair metal, hair bands, were all the rage. They're all over MTV. They're all over the radio. And you put out something with these riffs on here and these kind of trading guitar licks for the time. This is pretty good. I mean, it fits the time, and they knew what they were going for.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. And actually, you're talking about hair metal. This actually probably rocks a little harder than a lot of the stuff you were going to hear on the radio at the same time.
Right.
This was kind of like in the everybody needs a ballad.
That's right.
Deal. So yeah, this was a little more intense than you were going to get.
So all right, we're up and moving, right? No real complaints so far. Second song is Do Ya, which was a song Jeff Lynne wrote like for the Move, and then revamped it for ELO. So with ELO, you're going to have some high voices. It's going to be a very different song than something Ace would do. He did, however, release it as a single, and it didn't really go anywhere. Whereas for the Move, it actually got on the charts. And then for ELO, it was a top 40 song, a top 25 song here in America. Of course, Jeff Lynne is a master songwriter and is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But Aces didn't really go anywhere. Now, I have to admit, I had not heard. I knew ELO, and I knew some of their songs, but I didn't know Do Ya when we got this record. Never heard it.
Okay. And this was a while ago, so I can't remember whether I did or I didn't. I remember I liked it. I liked the song. And then it was like, oh yeah, this was somebody else's.
Right.
I do like the note that this was brought to Ace and he said no originally. And why did he say no? I'm not going to sing that song. There's too many words.
It's true. Because he can't really sing. He kind of has to talk his way through it, to be honest with you.
But that actually kind of works in this, right? Because Jeff Lynne, like, he can go high, but a lot of his stuff is like this. This was kind of a talking song. It kind of fits his vocal delivery. Okay, I like when he says "woman." He kind of sticks on that.
I love it. It's so good. Actually, I still like this. I mean, even though I've heard the Jeff Lynne ELO version many more times since we were in college than the Ace version, I still like this. But you're right. It's a lot for him to have to say, and he does talk it through. But Jeff Lynne basically did the same thing until he got, but I've never seen nothing. Like, he does that. But it's great. Do you want my love? Woman. Do you want my face? I need it. What do you need it for? Do you want my mind? What's left of it? I don't know. I still like this. I like the way that they did the bridge, actually. The bridge, I think, on this is cooler than the ELO version.
Okay.
It's a little more hard rock. Yeah, And the fact that at the end, do you want the Ace? Oh, my God. It's so bad. It's awesome.
Do you want my love, woman? Do you want my face? I need it. Do you want my mind? I'm saying that. Do you want the Ace? Come on and tell me. Do you want my love? Do you want my love?
It's just like in Rock Soldiers, the devil's going to have to play without an ace in his deck. And I'm like, this is so cheesy, and yet I love it. It's so good. It's what you want from Ace.
I was going to say, come on. After about the third time you listen to it, on the fourth through a millionth time, you could wait. Come on, here we go.
Here it comes.
Do you want the Ace?
Yeah, you want the Ace. Yes,
Now, they did have a video for this deal.
Yep.
Yeah,
because it was a single.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
Part live, part, I guess he's on a sand dune or by the beach or something. I don't know what that was supposed to be. But if I could nerd out for just a moment, the part where he's outside, he's got the light up Les Paul, which we saw live at the station in Fern Park, which is awesome. But when he's in the studio, and that studio part, but when he's on stage, he's got this was before, I think, Gibson came out with the signature Les Paul with the Ace face on the headstock.
Yeah.
This was a 3 pickup, just Les Paul custom in a cherry sunburst. It's just phenomenal just to look at. Ace always had the greatest guitars and probably still does.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He was still sponsored by Gibson at this point, if I'm not mistaken. He thanks Gibson in the liner notes. But doesn't he only use the treble pickup like the other two?
Yeah, it's just for
don't
show.
Do anything. Yeah,
but it's cool because there's probably somebody else, but he's the one. When you see the 3 pickup Les Paul, you know that's his.
That's Ace Frehley.
I think, yeah. But it's just cool. It's a signature piece. It looks awesome. He does the move where he pulls it up. Mm-hmm. So you can see the whole thing. It's just awesome.
Now, did we see him at the station and then we got this? Did we see him freshman or sophomore year? I can't even remember.
Oh, that's a good. I don't remember, but it sounds right to me that we had the record before we saw him live.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. The station at Ferd Park was March of 1993, so we had it by then. We had it that fall.
I think so, yeah.
Sure. Fall of 92, so yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely did. It doesn't show... I could do another show of when I tried to see him at Janie Lane Sunset Strip and tried to wait outside for him while I was completely off my head. But that's a story for another day.
All right.
Let's move on to the third song, 5-Card Stud.
Mm-hmm.
Now... This is the kind of Ace cheesery that you would kind of expect. His name's Ace. He does go to a lot of card games. I bet he loses a lot more money than he wins. But Mark Ferrari, who was born Mark Schumann.
Ferrari's not his real name? Imagine that.
But apparently, he wrote a book called Rockstar 101, A Rockstar's Guide to Survival and Success in the Music Business, in 2002. It's actually considered one of the best books on the subject of what it takes to make it in the business. And it's the perspective of the artist, not the record industry or whatever. He's also written a children's book, I think. He toured with Keel for a long time with a couple of others. So he's made a career in rock and roll, even though he's not, a household name. Got to be in the movies. That's kind of cool. But this song is cheesy. I mean, it's a 5-card stud, and then it's got a bunch of lyrics that are card and gambling focused. But Ace's delivery is not bad.
Yeah, they seem to tailor this one for him, even though the lyrics are a little cringy. When money's on the line, I play for blood because I'm the 5-card stud. Okay, yeah, sounds great.
Jack, there's no holding back. I'll call your bluff. It ain't no crime. Winning all the time. When money's on the line, I play for blood. I'm the 5-card stud.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, it's good riff to start, and all the card imagery is a little cheesy, but I bet at the time, folks were psyched to get this from Ace. Looking back on it, it's like, is this the best you could do? But I bet at the time, if you were a teenager and you're really into Kiss and Ace, I bet you were like, okay, yeah, sweet, dude.
It definitely plays into his
persona.
Mythos. Yeah. Persona. And then it's funny, too, because there's that line from Gene Simmons where he was pissed at Ace because he wouldn't show up for something. Hey, we got to do these overs. I got a card game to go to.
Right. What? You're not coming to work because you're gambling? What the? What? A stack of chips by my side, poker gin or 21. A winning hand is my pride.
Mm-hmm.
Cut the pack. I'll take the one-eyed jack. There's no holding back. I'll call your bluff. I mean, let's play for double or nothing if you think you're so good. Let's go for broke. Afraid you're gonna choke. You lost your bottom buck. I mean, you're just trying to, the 5-card stud. You're just trying to fit all these little gambling and card metaphors in here. It's not great. I think Anton is good here.
Mm-hmm.
The solo is a little frantic to me. It's a little frantic and it builds to some wailing, I guess, on the solo. He only has so many tricks. I feel like every time I hear him do a solo, I'm like, yeah, that's part of a Kiss song. Like, if I really had the understanding of the catalog the way Tom and Zeus do, I could say, oh, yeah, that's from Love 'Em, Leave 'Em, or that's from, whatever. I could pick out it's like he stopped growing. Paul accused him of stop growing because we're also around this time, of course, Jackson, we got the Kiss Extreme Close-Up video, and we watched it at least 2,000 times.
Yeah.
And Paul was, he wasn't too condescending of Ace. It's just like, Ace had a cool Jimmy Page's quality to his playing, and then over time he stopped growing. And I think it's absolutely true. Ace doesn't like to practice. He doesn't like to rehearse. And you can't come up with anything new if you're just showing up and playing the old shit all the time.
Right. And I've got a note in here that the solo has Ace traits to it. Like, yeah, he did the bend trick, there are sound signatures where you're like, yeah, that's Ace. He's recycling this from somewhere else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was kind of obvious on this one. Now the next one, Hide Your Heart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so, okay, Paul Stanley wrote this with Desmond Child and Holly Knight. So that's three pretty powerful songwriters right there. People who know how to put together a pop melody and some good lyrics. I guess they sold it to Bonnie Tyler, best known for Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Mm-hmm.
And her album came out first in 1988. There you go.
Well, I've got a note here that they wrote this song originally for the Crazy Nights album.
Right.
Used there. Bonnie Tyler picked it up. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that was a hit or not. I don't remember ever hearing her version of this.
It went to number 22 in Finland.
Oh, well, there you go. Then.
So there you go. Pretty big, chart topper for Bonnie, though. It was supposed to be on Crazy Nights. Maybe it didn't fit. Mm-hmm. So they sold it. He offered it to other artists. Bonnie took it. She released it as a single in like spring of 88. It did well in Finland, but not really anybody anywhere else, Then Kiss, I guess, decided to use it on Hot in the Shade, which came out in October of 1989. It did better, mainstream rock, it was 22, Billboard Hot 166. That's not great. UK 59. So some people listened to it, but they didn't love it. Didn't go over super well for them. But, it was good. It was a good video, I think, for Kiss. And I think Paul's vocals were really strong on this. And then when you hear Aces next to it, it's like, why would you try to compete with Paul?
That's part of the problem here. If it was only Bonnie Tyler in this one, okay, maybe. But yeah, when you listen to the two side by side, the vocals are not even close. Why would you do this? Why
can't hold a candle to Paul?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Rosa had a lover on the shady side of town. He was king of the streets. She was his possession like the jewel on his crown. Johnny, better run, better hide. Rosa had a lover on the shady side of town. Tito, he was king of the streets. And she was his possession like the jewel on his crown. Johnny, better run, better hide your heart.
I will say this is an interesting exercise in what ifs, because what if Ace was still in the band in 1989? Would the song have sounded a little more like this? Obviously, Paul would have sung it. I get that. But to me, this is like more of a stripped down, almost raw version of this song.
Yeah.
There's not as much flourishing in it. I don't know who picked this for him, but this is not a good fit for his voice. It's way too. There's a lot of point where he's kind of out on his own singing this, and it's like, no, you need to either have him do simple stuff or hide him with a couple of other voices, and they're not doing it on this track.
Yeah, my question is why did you pick this? I mean, was it that you didn't think it was going to be on Hot in the Shade? I mean, did you know that Paul had already written it? It was going to go on Crazy Nights, but then it didn't. And then you see the Bonnie Tyler version. Okay, I'll do you better than that. I'll do you a rock version of that. This will be different. And then they do put it on Hot in the Shade, and they release it as a single. And it just kind of dwarfs Ace. Now, is that Paul being vindictive? Saying, oh, you're going to put our song on there? Well, we're going to do it better, and we're going to put it out, and no one's going to even know that you did it. It's possible.
I wonder, too, like, why would he have picked this song? Because you knew you were going to have to pay Paul Stanley. And so that would have just been a sticking point to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know. And he's talking about there's too many words. Again, he's kind of just speaking some of this stuff. Some of it he's singing, but some of it you can feel a chill oh my God, it's so bad when he sang that. Whereas with Paul, it's good. I don't know. I mean, we could talk about how, it's Johnny's holding Rosa on a rooftop in the night and a shot rang out like thunder and blood was. We could talk about that. But honestly, go listen to the Shout Out Loud guys Hot in the Shade to really get the understanding of that song. This is just Ace kind of out of his depth, and it's just a weird choice to me to choose a Paul Stanley song.
Yeah, strange. Although I do think it's interesting that, Stanley wrote this with Desmond Child and Holly Knight. I'm pretty sure if I wrote a song with the two of them, it would be a hit too. Like, do you need any more firepower on this?
Yeah, I know. But that's what they were going for. They wanted the big hits. They wanted respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the 70s, they got respect as a live band, but they did not get it as songwriters. So now that all the makeup's stripped off and you're just you, can they get the respect they deserve? And that's what they're going for, writing with these folks.
Mm-hmm.
Not only trying to get hits and make money, but people to say, hey, you really are a good songwriter. And I don't think it worked, to be honest with you. I mean, I think Kiss fans love Paul's writing, but I don't know how much, the average person's like, oh yeah, Paul Stanley, he's a phenomenal songwriter. That's right. Didn't he write You Put the X in Sex? Oh yeah. That's a good one. Moving on. I think here, hold on. We only ever had this on CD.
Correct. Yeah.
And then, but I think Lost in Limbo, the fifth song, would have been the last song on the first side.
Okay.
This is written by Ace and Richie Scarlet once again. Is that a dog barking at the beginning there?
Well, yeah, that plays into the motif here.
And then there's somebody going, what? I mean, it's kind of weird. I think it's a Hangover song.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Or one of those, like you're on tour or something and you just, you maybe had a bad night somewhere and you just need to get away.
Don't come, not feeling happy, not feeling sad, not feeling anything good or bad. I'm not in heaven, I'm not in hell. This must be limbo, can't you tell, can't you tell? Come on. Lost in limbo. We're just lost.
Lost in Limbo. Let's see if we can stomach these lyrics.
Oh, come
here.
on. These are good.
No, they're not.
Yes.
No. No, they're not. Okay. Party's over in the morning light. My head is spinning. Lost my appetite. Barking dog.
There we go.
There's a dog in there. Much too loud. Chuck him a bone and get me out of this town. And here's so that's not horrible. That's not horrible. Here's the chorus. Not feeling happy, not feeling sad, not feeling anything good or bad. Mm-hmm. I'm not in heaven. I'm not in hell. This must be limbo. Now can't you tell? It's just like two sides of the coin. They're not happy. They're just kind of glad. He just doesn't have that much to offer from a lyric standpoint. And that's lost in limbo. It's just not very good. Not very good. And he's talking about being hungover, which is not fun at all.
But he's something he knows a lot about, though.
Yeah. From Hell's Kitchen to Kingdom Come. I mean, and there's some of Ace's little guitar tricks on the song that we're familiar with, and there's not much else. I just don't think there's that much to this song.
No. This is another one that sounds like you had the makings of something, with the riff and then they said we need lyrics and we're going to record this in 5 minutes, and then like you said, that's 3 more than I need. Here we go.
The morning after is such a bore. Can't even focus on the kitchen floor. Telephone, please don't ring. Want to forget about everything. Yeah. This is not good. Sorry guys, but that's just not a good. That's not a good song. I've heard good songs, and that's not one of them. That's not one of them. Okay, but you flip it over if you had the tape or the LP. We had the CD, so we just skipped the last one, and here we are at the title track, Trouble Walkin'.
Yes.
Now, this is better. This is, it's an understanding why you might name the album after this song, but this song kicks ass. I admit I used to sing it. I have trouble walking. Mm-hmm. But, I am trouble walking. It's walking. It's not no G on there. It's got an apostrophe after the end. I think this is a kick-ass song. I think it would have made sense in the day, and that, with Ace's cool signature guitar pieces in there, this is a solid track for him.
And so who wrote this? He didn't write this, did he? Ace.
No, he didn't.
No. Bill Ray and Phil Brown wrote
Yeah.
this song. This, if you were going to write an Ace song, this is it. This is how you do it. It's got a cool riff. Don't bore us. Get to the chorus right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It sets the tone. He's not really singing. It's more like this chant. And so, yeah, this is a good song. This would have been a really cool addition to a Kiss record. You know, one of those, like, you're kind of going through and you're like, okay, here's the Ace song, Trouble Walking.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty cool. This is probably the best song he's got on here, and I think it fits him. It fits him very well.
Well, and more on Bill Ray,
Mm-hmm.
who is a songwriter. He wrote songs for Diana Ross, and he and his brother Jim Ray wrote most of the big hits on Trickster's debut album, 1 in a Million and Surrender. Of course, Trickster fits into the story later. I mean, we saw Trickster open for Kiss on the Revenge tour,
Okay.
didn't we?
Well, I don't know if we
No.
actually saw them. We may have heard them from the other room. I don't
Was
think
that
we were in there.
Kix?
No, it was Trickster.
It was okay, and then PJ Farley has done stuff later, and Steve Brown of Trickster obviously just helped Ace make his best solo album in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote for Loverboy, he wrote for Emerson, Lake and Palmer, he wrote Little Feat. I mean, he wrote some songs for some big artists, you know, and I guess even toured a little bit with some of the bigger artists of the day. So he's trying to get someone in to help him write a cool song, and it's only 3 minutes, right? It's the shortest song on the album, but that's good. It's
Yes.
sweet and to the point.
Correct.
The lyrics are better than most of the stuff that Ace writes. I mean, look, this is what you're looking for. You know, you got to love all the little guitar bits that are peppered throughout, and you got to love the attitude of the song.
And you gotta love the fact that you're not giving him too much to do. It's on the vocal parts. It's simple. You've got the chorus is many people, you know, or a couple of guys, you know, yelling the, you know, Trouble Walking parts of this. Yeah, this to me, if you were going to write a song for Ace, this is it. It lets him do exactly what he can, not asking him to do things that are outside his comfort zone. It's got a nice riff. It's got a nice little solo to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's compact, perfect.
It's perfect. It's a great Ace tune. Now, Sandy Slavin, who played in Riot, actually played the drums on this song. This is not Anton. But other than that, I mean, it's the band's just killing it here. This is what you want from Ace. I understand, I guess, why you might want to start with Shot Full of Rock. I understand why if you're going to release Do Ya as a single, you want to put it up there pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you really are looking to track for an LP and cassette era, then it'd be good to have this start the second side. But I feel like they kind of buried it on the CD. I feel like it's, you know, it should have probably been higher up. Could have started the album. Obviously, the title track could be the lead song. That's not a strange thing to happen. But I'm just glad it made it on here because, you know, some of the stuff on the second side is a little weak.
I think you're right, though. I think this was probably tracked to start the second side off strong.
Yeah, and it would work, except we had a CD, and so we just had to skip through some other things to get there.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's rock and roll comedian Don Jameson, and you are listening to the great, the fantastic podcast, The Ugly American Werewolf in London.
Now, the next song, Too Young to Die, with the numbers 2, not T-O-O or T-O, written by Ace and Richie. However, this is Richie on lead vocals. Probably something they should have tried more often. I mean, just like you said, Howarth did about half the songs, you know, and it gives you, you know, a couple people to look at, and then Ace can really focus on his playing while Todd is singing. Same thing here. He can let Richie focus on that, and then Ace can focus more on his guitar.
And looking at the notes, there wasn't a clear path from Skid Row who did what on this record. This sounds like the Skid Row guys on the bass And on this sounds more like a Skid Row song than an Ace song. It's nice to hear Richie's voice. He's got a little bit of that smoky Peter Criss tone to his voice. And at this point in time, honestly, I'm looking for a change of pace. Sorry, Ace.
Yeah.
Now we can't take it no more. We'll smash down society's walls. Bad boys are coming. It's too late to cry. You better start running or kiss your ass goodbye.
Yeah, so it's not incredible, and they use the F word in here, you know, if you can believe that. And they're talking about bad boys are coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's too late to cry, too fast to live, too young to die. I mean, it's, you know, it's funny.
What are you doing? I'm crying. It's too late to cry.
So you better start running
That's right.
or kiss your ass goodbye, Paul Daniel Frehley. Paul Daniel Frehley. There's some big drums leading up to the solo, which again is a bit frantic to me. I don't know. I mean, they should have let probably Richie and Ace trade again to make this a little better. It's not horrible. It's not a bad song. And again, put yourself back in 1989. This is kind of like a Motley Crue song, right? Big riff, Too Young to Die.
Yeah.
It's not going to be real deep. It's about being tough and living on the streets. I get it. It's not a great song. It's not a horrible song. It kind of fits. It's just, I was ready for it to be over not long after it started.
Would this have sounded good on the tape deck out of the Camaro? Probably, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely, you know. So then you move on to Back to School.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is funny, man. I mean, they're just throwing on a bunch of school references. It's so cheesy. For the time, it's fine. Again, I understand the audience you're going for. You're trying to get the high school miscreant or at least rebel, someone who doesn't fit in, like back to school. But it's really about, you know, taking a girl back to school, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now this makes more sense. Yeah. This is like, now it's like you're not even trying. Like we've now crossed over to just being a parody of yourself.
Summer's gone and you're still ready to burn. Back from vacation and you're eager to learn. Anticipation mixed with desire. No one can stop because your heart's on fire. Back to school. I'll teach you all the things that you never knew. We're going back.
Yeah, now I'm the teacher, but I have no degree. Forget the rest. I'll teach you biology.
Oh.
See? Now just relax and you'll do your best. Concentrate and you'll pass the test. He's talking about screwing. And it sounds like he's talking about, you know, a high school girl, but there's no overtness. I'll be your teacher and you'll be my pet. Put down your notebook because there's no written tests. Graduation is what you deserve. You'll have no problem because I grade on a curve. This is so bad. It's so bad, dude.
But it's so bad it's awesome because it's just like I said, you're not even trying now. Now it's just like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God. And this is John Regan, who gets his first co-write with Ace here on the album. He was with Frehley's Comet as a bass player from 84 to 90, but he also recorded and performed with Peter Frampton from 79 to 2011. So I saw him play when we were in college too, not knowing it. But he recorded with John Waite. He recorded a little bit with the Stones, Stephen Stills, David Bowie, Billy Idol, Robin Trower, David Lee Roth. I mean, he's obviously a talented player. He did a little work on Dirty Work, everyone's favorite Stones album. I guess he did some bass on Dancing in the Street between Bowie and Jagger.
No.
It's okay. The bass was fine. He wasn't responsible for South America. But he also played on Hide Your Heart, the Bonnie Tyler version, which is pretty interesting. Anyway, I guess because he he co-wrote the song. He's proud of it. I don't know. It seems like he could do better, but he's with Ace. So what's he going to do? Maybe he came up with the music and Ace did the lyrics. I don't know. It's silly. Sorry. It's silly. I don't know. Can you ever pick out Peter Criss singing backup on one of these? I'm listening. He's apparently on Hide Your Heart, Trouble Walkin', Too Young to Die, and Back to School. So the last few songs, I could never pick out his voice.
I couldn't either. And on this track, there is somebody screaming back to school. I mean, is that Sebastian Bach? It didn't really sound like him, but I couldn't pick out. That's not
right.
Peter
So is that
Criss doing
Peter?
the part.
Didn't sound like it.
No, it's somebody who can screech really high. Yeah, I couldn't pick out his voice. And the notes on that I could find, they had people credited to the record, but they didn't really tell you which track it was.
Well, the solo isn't bad. It's very Ace. Again, it's something.
I have Ace sounding solo.
It sounds like generic Ace. He's basically copying himself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, someone is really wailing on the background vocals. I don't know who it is, though. Look, for the time, it's fine. It's late 80s. It's fine. It's the second to last song on the album, basically. Let's move along to Remember Me. Now, this is live, right? And I remember we were listening to this because the crowd comes in. You could always just pump that in.
Right.
But it's like, no, I think he really did record this live. And it's a blues song, really. I mean,
it's not like anything else. It's a departure at this point in time. I'm actually kind of glad it's here because I couldn't take another Back to School Lost in Limbo.
Yeah.
So, and the lyrics on this thing are a little deep for Ace.
Yeah, but he gets the spacey stuff in there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the first lines, well, I'm staring down from Venus in the dead of the night.
He's from outer space.
My mind is thinking back to when the world was right. Yeah, okay.
Just fine. With my head in the clouds, it's easy to see. You better live together peacefully. You know the world is still your family tree. So keep it straight. Remember me. It's not too late. Remember me.
But then he talks about your guns and bombs rolling off the assembly line and people are starving and you think it's just fine. I'm like, all right, well, that's heavy, man.
It is heavy. While I'm floating and spinning and flying above Earth's atmosphere, I've got a few things to say that you may not want to hear. I think this is kind of about the I don't know. Is it about the end of the world? I don't even really know. It was co-written by Ace and James Carter Cathcart, and I don't know him. But he was a voice actor, and apparently he played James and Professor Oak on the Pokemon franchise in America for about 20 years. Got it. He'd been playing with bands since high school, including the Laughing Dogs, who released a couple of albums on Columbia. But anyway, he's apparently a talented voice actor and does a lot of that kind of anime and Pokemon kind of stuff. Didn't write a lot of songs. It's just weird. I mean, he's co-writing a song with a guy who doesn't write songs much. It's long. It's live. They captured it live and they decided, hey, we don't need to go to the studio. Yeah. Needed more time because it's a standard 44 and a half minute album. That's kind of basic for this standard for this time. But obviously without Remember Me, it's going to be under 40 minutes. And then Fractured 3, the third installment in the Fractured series, is damn near 7 minutes. So they kind of linger a lot on that one. If you ask me. Again, the solo is very Ace. He only has so many tricks, and he just kind of keeps pulling them out, if you ask me. It's not super original.
But at this point in time, I don't think there's really anybody there that's going to push him that hard. So as long as he can show up with something, that's fine. And
then Fractured 3, I mean, look, everybody liked Fractured Mirror. I shouldn't say everybody, but I think Fractured Mirror was a really cool part of Ace's 1978 solo album. Mm-hmm. And then when they did Frehley's Comet, he did Fractured 2, T-O-O. It's kind of like, hey, here's another Ace playing some acoustic and soloing over it no lyrics to ruin it. No vocals from Ace. It's an instrumental. It's very long. It's not as good as the first, but I think it's good. And it might just be good because Ace isn't singing.
Yeah.
But John Regan gets his second co-write
Yeah,
with this one.
it is not bad. It is kind of cool that he's keeping the theme going. Yeah, you're right. It is a little long, but it's not bad. It's not as good as the first one, but it's not bad.
It's not bad, and it's where you want it. It's the last song on there. That's where he puts the instrumentals on there. If I'm not mistaken, those Second Sighting did not have a Fractured on there. The last song was The Acorn is Spinning, which is an instrumental. So true to form, all 4 albums end with an instrumental to this point. So he's towing the line there, I guess. But that's it. It went to number 102 on the Billboard chart in 1989, which probably makes it, one of the lowest charting albums that we've ever reviewed here on the show. But because we do love Ace, and this album was something we listened to a lot when we lived together back in the day, prompted us to go see him live. I thought it would be interesting to review as it turns 35. It's not an amazing record. It's not bad. It's very of the time. It captures Ace in the way that we probably remember him best. But I don't know, in the annals of Kiss, this one's going to get looked over a lot. Vinnie Vincent's Invasion is going to get a lot more hype than this will.
Well, that's because Vinny didn't try and sing on that. He was smart enough to pick up other people, including Mark Slaughter.
Mark Slaughter,
but
if that is his real name.
Mark Slaughter?
Yeah, I don't think it's his real name.
Probably not, but I'm just glad that he was working at this point in time, putting out new stuff, because that's how you keep yourself from stagnating. And this was an interesting time too, because it was right on the cusp. This was right before Revenge comes out, and then you thought they would never get back together again, and then it happened. But the door was kind of starting to creak open here at this point in time.
Yeah, because also on Kiss's album they did the video, or it's like, you know what, we could take the makeup off and play clubs. Take the makeup off? Ah, you nuts. We can do anything we want, you nuts. We can do anything, Gene. I still say you nuts. It's the Rise to It video.
Right. Yeah.
And they're putting on makeup, and so it's like, okay, we're not closing the door on that all the way.
And then I remember too when what was the one for Bill and Ted? God gave rock and roll
to you. Yeah.
There was a lot of old clips in there of the makeup days, and so it was like, I kind of thought we were not talking about this anymore, but it looks like we are, and remembering it fondly. So the ice was starting to melt here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand when you take the makeup off, you need to start to distance yourself from that and say, look, hey, we're not that anymore, and we have different members, and we're writing new songs. So when you make a change like that, you have to kind of try to start keeping it at arm's length. But then after a while, it's like, well, it's not like we're not playing Deuce or Rock and Roll All Night or any of the songs we wrote while we were doing the makeup days. And they're making money off these videos talking about their past. Extreme Close-Up was huge for Kiss fans at that time. And you're right. So the ice is starting to melt a little bit. And eventually, not too long after this, Peter and Ace is a little further after. It's probably 5 years, something like that. But they kind of toured as the Bad Boys together, doing some Kiss songs and doing some Ace songs. Just to kind of show the guys we can still do it. And then when the Unplugged thing happened, that was big. And as Kiss fans who grew up just a little too late to have caught them in their heyday in the makeup, it's something we really wanted. And we weren't the only ones, obviously.
Yeah, I think at that point in time, they were ready to go again, because like you said, there was a whole nother generation of people that were just a little bit too young. And so we got to see that. And I'll never forget that when that acoustic show came out and my little brother was like, man, these guys are old. They suck. They're terrible. I'm like, all right, well, tough guy. Who's the band today? Live. Live is the band that's going to be around forever. Okay.
Is Live still even touring? I don't even know.
Who knew? Did they ever make another record again after that? Who could even tell you?
Well, all their songs are the same. It's like slow, and then you build up, and then it's wow, and it's over. It's like, that's all their songs. Why do we need more of them? they're all the same. Yeah, no, so that was big in 94, the unplugged thing. And then all of a sudden they're starting to get offers. If you put everyone back together, you can make money. And that's what they needed to do. Everyone talks about how successful Kiss was in the 80s. And they did. They sold gold and platinum records. They had tours, but they were always kind of chasing their tail. Touring didn't make as much as it does now. And the albums didn't sell that well. So they had to spend all this money and spend it on writers to get some songs out there. But they just they're on a hamster wheel. They kind of just kept going and going and going. They weren't making a ton of money. They were doing all right, but they had to keep working. And Paul ditched the producer and produced it himself because we can't afford a producer kind of thing. Finally, they saw the opportunity. Hey, if we got the band back together, we could make a ton of money. And that's what they wanted to do. And
without having to
the
do
rest is
anything
history.
either.
Yeah.
You already had the catalog built in. We don't have to write any new songs. We don't have to do anything except for put the makeup back on. And we've got a ready-made crowd for this.
And it worked to a huge degree. So
Yeah.
look, Ace was kind of, in some ways it looks like, it seems like he's going through the motions, but he sounds better here than he did any time during the 2000s. All of his solo albums, all of his cover albums, his voice sounds better here. And he was still partying, but I guess he had taken a little bit of a break to clean up some of his act. And he was productive to make 3 albums in 3 years like that. That didn't happen again until he got sober for real in the 2000s. And since then, he has been working. He's been making new music, making his cover albums, going on tour, giving a lot of interviews, talking shit about his old band.
Yeah, at this point, there really is no reason to hold back. The end of the road tour is over. He's not coming back for that, even though you knew he wasn't anyway. But yeah, now it's.
But he wanted to. You also know
I'm
that.
sure.
Absolutely. He wanted to.
Right. So you have to be a good boy and not say anything too crazy. But now, who cares?
Well, also, but now the damage is done. I mean, the damage is done to his brain and body. He may be sober, but I think he was in much better shape back then, even though he was still kind of partying.
Yeah.
Because he was younger. He hadn't destroyed everything about himself yet. He had to get sober into 2000s or he wouldn't be here right now. The fact that Ace Frehley's Trouble Walkin is turning 35 is just giving me a little moment of pause, just because it was something that I loved to listen to when I was a very young man with my whole life in front of me. Jackson 2 was one of our favorites when we lived together in college. You look back now, you can really see, Ace's lyrics and vocals, that's hard to market, man. But we loved him anyway. We loved Kiss. We loved lead guitar players. Ace had this cool style. He had great makeup when he was in the band. And he had a reputation for being a party animal. That's why we love him, because he's kind of an idiot. And he kind of does dumb things. And we didn't buy the album new. We got it in the used bin for $8. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have value. And I know it sounds like I don't like Ace, but I am a confirmed member of the Ace cult, as is Jackson. And I love hearing stories about Ace as much as I like to hear his playing. His singing, not so much. Although on this album, it really wasn't bad compared to what it would evolve into. But the lyrics are so just, I know I was once 16 and these would have been like, hear what he's singing about? I get it. But long term here, it's like, the riffs are so much better than the rest of it. But God bless you, Ace. I hope you keep going. I hope you keep making new stuff. And I am going to buy everything you put out. I promise, okay? Not to mention, Ace Frehley, you are welcome on this show anytime you want. You want to come talk about what a pain in the ass Paul or Gene are, that's fine with me. You want to promote your new record. You want to just tell some old stories that you can remember, man. Come on the show. We'd love to have you. And to all our listeners, we want to know, did we get something right? Did we get something wrong? Did we miss the point? Did we leave out your favorite part? You have to let us know. You email us. It's uglyamericanwerewolf@gmail.com. You let us know the bands, the albums, the concerts, the DVDs, the books, the rock properties you want to hear us talk about here on the show. And we need you to download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Those downloads are so very, very important to us. Doesn't really matter where. Just make sure you download and subscribe. And if you're thinking about it, folks, hey, please give us a positive 5-star review. It means the world to us, and it helps us find more rock and rollers like you out there in the world. Send it to us. Hey, we might even read it on a show. Thanks as always to Pantheon Podcast for making us part of the family, and thanks to our extraordinary sponsor, rarevinyl.com, who, if you use the code UGLY at checkout, you can save 10% off one entire order. And yes, they have lots and lots of Kiss imports and Kiss picture discs and Kiss singles and fun Kiss stuff. We soldier on, rock soldiers. We've got more album reviews coming up. We've got more special events. We've got some more special guests coming your way. So stay tuned. And to all you rockers all around the world, be cool and keep doing what you do to keep rock alive.